Since I can remember, my father's been an organizational business consultant. He's been in the business for a long time. I remember once growing up, I was sitting outside his office as he was explaining something. He was talking about how to make managers better for a particular client. He mentioned first and foremost that people don't quit companies. They don't even quit processes. And you can change processes. You can have the best processes and systems, but people quit managers. And a lot of managers struggle in a way that makes employees want to leave because they don't understand how to manage a team. Part of managing a team better is not only understanding how teams work, but how individuals work. Shortly after, the conversation shifted into what makes us who we are from the core, our foundation, up. And even though in my childhood I only remember overhearing this conversation in detail the once, I sent my dad an email and said, hey, can you send me some sort of visual that you might have been using on that meeting? So he went back and found this old retro PowerPoint slide. If you're about my age, you probably look at this slide and say, well, this is a little bit busy. And if you're older than me, you see the little figures that are used in the PowerPoint and you might be overwhelmed with a sense of nostalgia. But this is basically the PowerPoint that my father might have been using when he was having such conversations about what makes us us. There's a little flow chart here if you are listening to audio only. At the very top, it says the outermost part of ourselves is the artifacts, the structure, the processes, formal rules. I like to think of this as the stuff that we can observe on the outside. They're the parts of our interactions with others and our observations of others that are on the outermost surface. They're the sorts of things we're most conscious of. Below that, for groups and individuals, we have norms and behavior. I like to think of this as the spot in the flowchart that represents not only our habits, but our general workflows, our day-to-day that results in the systems and processes that we can observe. I think we're all aware that we have healthy habits and unhealthy habits that ultimately can help or harm our structures, processes, and results in our day-to-day. And on the layer below that is this part, it simply says values, but I think values can be broken down into two categories. My father liked to say values and core values. I'm going to say values and virtues. In my financial coaching, I like to talk about a value as something that matters to you, but you're willing to give it up. You're willing to sacrifice it in favor of a greater good or for someone you really care about. Think about if you have a significant other, are you willing to compromise on this thing you value? And on a deeper level, the core values or the virtues are the things that you're not willing to sacrifice because they are such a deep part of what makes you you. If you were to look at yourself in the mirror, you'd say, I am not willing to give this part of me up no matter what. And while it's not the main focus, I'd be remiss if I left out the fourth and final level. Here we have the fundamental beliefs and assumptions that make you you. This is where your personal world, religion, or philosophy belongs. What we need to understand is that our worldview, our core beliefs and assumptions are the things that are going to inform our values. Our values are built on that innermost core self. And our habits and day-to-day norms grow out of our values. They should be informed by our values and virtues. Lastly, our observable day-to-day systems and structures should grow out of our habits and behaviors. Given that that last slide was a little bit busy, there's one more graphic that I want to share with you if you can see the video. It's an onion that's sliced in half, and it talks about the layers of the onion going from the outside to the inside, again, representing who we are and a journey of digging deeper into our subconscious and self-discovery. The outermost layer talks about our perceptions. This is the observable parts of us and others on the outside of the onion. Underneath that is going to be the behavior patterns. Beneath that, it has personal choices, and below that one, it has internalized values. On the previous PowerPoint, behavior patterns and personal choices were combined in the second layer. And in the onion graphic, the second most inner layer to the onion is where the values and virtues live. Lastly, core beliefs is the very center of the onion, very similar to the slide that my father had from years and years ago. So how can this experience I had in my childhood and these graphics help us with personal finance? Well, let's start by having a Dr. Phil moment. If I were to say, take a look at your personal financial life right now. Look at the outside, the outermost layer of the onion. Where are you? Are you happy with your day to day personal finance life? Or are you buried in debt and you're trying to get out from under it and you don't know how to change it? You've been trying hard, but you're still there. Another situation that you might recognize yourself in that's undesirable is living paycheck to paycheck. You feel like you can't get ahead and you can't accomplish the next steps in your personal financial goals. You don't understand why, even though you try your hardest, you're stuck in a cycle of frustration. Well, we are very aware of this reality on the outside, but it is a result of our behavior patterns and personal decisions. These sort of behavior patterns, these habits, these decisions are things that we're less aware of, but they are a part of who we are. And they are built on our values, they're built on our virtues, they're built on a core part of ourselves that we have to know well. So I'm going to challenge you right now. Look deep inside yourself and ask, what are my core values? What are my virtues? What are the things that matter to me that help inform my decisions when it comes to money? What are the things in my personal financial life and the parts of me that I'm not willing to sacrifice? And while this may seem trivial, this is a serious challenge that I'm posing to you right now. Some of the greatest minds in history were aware that to know yourself was very challenging and something that took time and effort. This quote here is attributed to Ben Franklin. There are 3 things extremely hard: steel, a diamond, and to know one's self. While you're soul searching for those values and virtues that make you who you are, especially in your personal financial life, we're going to move into today's main topic. And I'm going to share with you what I believe is the number one most important virtue that we can have for personal finance.